Welcome to our garden where we dive into the orange world of carrots. There's something so satisfying about growing your own carrots, isn't there? That moment you pull them from the soil, their vibrant color almost glowing, and then that first sweet, earthy crunch. Well, today we're going to make sure you have plenty of those moments as we tackle troubleshooting common issues when growing carrots at home. Whether you're new to gardening or just can't seem to get those carrots quite right, this video is for you. We'll be covering everything from seed germination and soil conditions to watering, dealing with pests, and knowing exactly when to harvest for the tastiest carrots you've ever grown. So grab your gardening gloves and let's get stuck in. By the end of this video, you'll be well on your way to growing the most glorious, delicious carrots you've ever tasted. First off, let's talk about carrot seed germination. Carrot seeds can be a little temperamental, can't they? You sow them with such hope and anticipation, and then nothing. Days turn into weeks and still there's no sign of life. More often than not, the culprit is soil temperature. Carrots prefer soil nicely warmed up, ideally between 50 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. If the soil's too cold, they'll simply sit there, stubbornly refusing to budge. It's like tucking them into a bed that's too chilly. They're not going to sleep a wink. So, how do you make sure your soil is at the right temperature? Use a soil thermometer. If you find your soil is a little on the chilly side, don't despair. You can try covering the soil with a cloche or some horticultural fleece. This will trap the heat and warm up the soil beneath. Another trick is to use a soil warming cable, particularly if you're starting your seeds off in a greenhouse or cold frame. Patience is key when it comes to carrot seed germination. It can take anywhere from a week to 3 weeks for those little green shoots to emerge. But trust me, when they do, it's such a rewarding sight. So, you've successfully navigated the tricky world of carrot seed germination, and you've got yourself some lovely little carrot seedlings popping up. But wait a minute, why aren't they growing? They're just sitting there looking a little stunted and sorry for themselves. This is a common problem, and more often than not, it's down to the soil. Carrots like a nice, loose, well-draining soil. If the soil is too compact, their delicate roots struggle to push through, and they end up stunted and deformed. Think of it this way, if you were trying to grow in a cramped, airless room, you wouldn't thrive, would you? Well, it's the same for carrots. They need space to stretch out, to breathe, to reach their full potential. If you suspect your soil might be a little on the heavy side, don't worry. There are a few things you can do to improve it. Before you sow your carrot seeds, it's a good idea to dig in some organic matter. This could be anything from well-rotted compost or manure to leaf mold or garden compost. Organic matter works wonders on the soil. Remember, a little effort in preparing your soil goes a long way in ensuring healthy, happy carrot plants. Now let's talk about carrot roots. You've nurtured your carrot plants with love and care, you've patiently waited for them to grow, and now it's time to harvest. You eagerly pull up a carrot only to find it's not quite what you were hoping for. Instead of a lovely, long, straight carrot, you're met with something that looks more like a bunch of fingers. Don't despair, forked carrots are a common problem, and they're usually caused by obstacles in the soil. Carrot roots are quite sensitive and don't like navigating around stones, clumps of soil, or large pieces of organic matter. Think of it like trying to walk through a forest with lots of fallen branches and tree roots in the way. So, how do you prevent forked carrots? It all starts with good soil preparation. Before you sow your carrot seeds, make sure you remove any large stones or debris from the soil. Then, give the soil a good rake over to break up any clumps and create a nice, fine tilth for your carrot seeds to grow in. Another useful tip is to sow your carrot seeds directly into the ground rather than starting them off in trays or modules. And finally, if you do find yourself with a few forked carrots, don't throw them away. They might not be the prettiest, but they'll still taste just as delicious. Next, let's talk about sunlight. Just like us, carrots need their daily dose of vitamin D to thrive. For optimum growth, carrots need at least 6 hours of direct sunlight every day. If your carrots aren't getting enough sunlight, they'll let you know. They might be paler in color than they should be, their leaves might be a bit spindly and weak, and they might not grow as big or as strong as they could. So when you're choosing a spot for your carrots, make sure it's a sunny one. Ideally, it should be south-facing and free from any overhanging trees or shrubs that might cast shade. If you're short on space or you're gardening in a particularly shady spot, don't despair. You can still grow carrots successfully. You just need to be a bit more strategic about it. Choose varieties that are known to tolerate partial shade, and make sure you rotate your crops regularly so that your carrots get their fair share of sunshine. Even carrots have to compete with pests, the bane of every gardener's life, aren't they? Just when you think you're winning the battle against weeds and weather, those pesky critters come along and try to undo all your hard work. Carrots are not immune to the attention of pests, unfortunately. One of the most common culprits is the carrot root fly, a small gray fly that lays its eggs in the soil around the base of carrot plants. The larvae then hatch and burrow down into the roots, causing them to become stunted and deformed. Another common pest is the carrot rust fly, which causes rusty-looking patches on the leaves of carrot plants. So how do you keep these pesky critters at bay? One of the simplest and most effective methods is to use a physical barrier, such as horticultural fleece or insect netting. This will prevent the flies from reaching your plants and laying their eggs. Another effective method is to practice crop rotation. This means not growing carrots in the same spot year after year. By moving your carrots to a different part of the garden, you'll disrupt the life cycle of the pests and make it harder for them to establish themselves. And finally, you can also try companion planting. Some good companion plants for carrots include onions, garlic, rosemary, and marigolds. Watering. It sounds simple enough, doesn't it? But when it comes to carrots, it's all about finding the right balance. Too much water, and you risk waterlogging the soil, which can lead to root rot and other fungal diseases. Too little water, and your carrots will be small, stunted, and tough. So, how do you know when to water your carrots, and how much water should you give them? As a general rule of thumb, it's best to water deeply and infrequently. This means giving your carrots a good soaking once or twice a week, rather than watering them little and often. A good way to check if your carrots need watering is to stick your finger into the soil. If it feels dry to the touch, it's time to give them a drink. When you do water your carrots, make sure you water the soil around the base of the plants rather than watering the leaves. This will help to prevent fungal diseases. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for, harvest time. There's nothing quite like the satisfaction of pulling up a plump, juicy carrot that you've grown yourself. But how do you know when your carrots are ready to harvest? Most carrot varieties take around 70 to 80 days to mature, but it's always best to check the seed packet for specific instructions for the variety you're growing. A good way to tell if your carrots are ready to harvest is to look at the size of the shoulders. The shoulders are the top part of the carrot, where the leaves meet the root. When the shoulders are about an inch in diameter, your carrots are ready to harvest. You can also try gently unearthing a carrot to check its size and color. When harvesting your carrots, try to loosen the soil around the roots with a fork before pulling them up. This will help to prevent damage to the roots. Once you've harvested your carrots, store them in a cool, dark, and humid place to keep them fresh and crunchy for longer. So there you have it. A beginner's guide to troubleshooting some of the most common issues faced when growing carrots at home. Remember, growing carrots, just like any gardening endeavor, is a journey of learning and discovery. Some years will be more successful than others, and that's all right. And always remember, the secret ingredient to any thriving garden is a whole lot of love. So roll up those sleeves, dive into the dirt, and let your passion grow. If you would like to share your favorite garden tip or hack with us, use #Rhokins Homestead, #urban gardening, or #small space gardening on your favorite social media sites. If you enjoyed these tips, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. There's so much more to discover together. Thank you for joining me here at Rhokins Homestead, your home for all things gardening. Let's grow together. Happy gardening.